we're recording because we do love the fact that so many people love to come to state and stand on the fringe of the gallery and glean knowledge from the critiques that the judge is giving to each of you one-on-one. We couldn't do that in person, but this is kind of our replacement. But I really, really, really need you guys to know that this is really special, that this is for you, and that you have accomplished something that's so amazing. And it may not feel like it because it's all on a computer this year and not the getting dressed up and being there and seeing all of your work live. It's not that, but it's no less significant. And I need you to know that. I want you to understand that, because we are honoring you in our hearts, and you will forever be our state group. From good to have you guys here this morning, and I want you to feel honored, and that's from the bottom of my heart. So I'm going to start being professional now and do a speech. Okay. Good morning. Welcome to State Theatrical Design. This is our Division II Hair and Makeup category. We really wanted to do this in person, but weren't able to. This is our next best thing. And one of the things I will say is that by doing it virtual this year, we were able to bring in a very, very special judge all the way from NYC to be able to come in and talk with you today. And I think maybe more importantly to me, or more inspirationally to me, she got her start in this contest. And I wanted you all to be able to have the opportunity to see where this could take you. And she'll tell you more about her journey personally, but she actually rocked this contest when she was in high school and has just taken it gangbusters ever since. And just so that you know, if this is your jam, that I would like to introduce to you Miss Krystal Balleza. Take it away, Krystal.
Thank you, Rachel. So yeah, I'm Krystal. I am originally from the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. So shout out 956. Yeah, I started doing this competition my sophomore year of high school. For some reason, my director, Brian Hunnell, hi Brian, recommended that I try the hair and makeup category for theatrical design. And I remember he had said, because my thing was like, oh, I'm spending so much time at rehearsals acting. I want to try something different that maybe, you know, just with my workload and high school, I was like, oh, I want to try something that's like lighter and easier. And he was like, oh, try theatrical design. It was not a lighter workload, it's more. Yeah, so he recommended hair and makeup, and that year was The Hobbit. So the first thing I did was prosthetics, and my director taught me a lot about how to work an airbrush machine, and I had a lot of freedom to just decide on a color palette, on a concept. And I mean, to do The Hobbit for that first time, it was daunting, but it was such a fun experience. Fun fact though, I did not place that year, and I remember being hurt. So
this is one of those moments when I have to talk, so hers will come back on.
I know sometimes it does that. We're working through it. So with the critique, it was that the medium for my renderings, it wasn't effective for like the final photos, because my final photos and like the concept I chose was so vibrant, and that the watercolors kind of muddled it. And I remember being like, okay, I want to change that for next year, but I don't like, I like the style that I do. I just want it to be, I have to think more and pay more attention to what the overall look is and how that needs to be cohesive. The renderings need to be cohesive with the overall idea and design. And then the following year was Tartuffe, and then it was Cats. Cats was my favorite. It is, because of doing that, it is my favorite musical. And
As if on cue. What the video would be without a cat, actually, and she literally jumped in the screen when you mentioned cats. Sorry about
oh my
that.
gosh, she's
Just
gorgeous.
keeping it real here at Theatrical Design.
Love cats. Yeah, so I remember that being my first musical introduction, which is so odd. It just is such a weird show. And I loved the amount of research that we did for our concept. And I mean, just thinking back, like little did I know that amount of research and the finding that thing to make you excited about your design, that is going to continue throughout your career. That is going to continue through your process as an artist, is that you find something that just makes you excited to be doing what you're doing. Andrew Lloyd Webber has been a part of my life now for some time. I most recently have been the assistant hair supervisor at Phantom of the Opera, one of Andrew's shows. It's very weird to me, almost like your heroes in physical form, and be working on multiple of their shows. I mean, wow, Phantom, it's a great hair and makeup show. It's a machine. It is a machine. And I cannot believe, so weirdly enough for Phantom, my best friend.
Oh no. Okay, I'm talking just so it comes back. Talk. Keep going. Not yet. Okay.
I went.
There. Okay.
So I was visiting my best friend in New York. He was working at Phantom, and I was still in school. At the backstage hair room, and the supervisor was the original hair supervisor for Cats on Broadway. And my roommate had told him that I was a Cats fan, and out of a drawer, he pulls out a Cats wig, an actual original Broadway production Cats wig. And I was like, oh my God, you know that this has been my high school, like my high school career peak was Cats the musical. And technically Phantom is my first Broadway show that I saw, and to be working on it as the assistant hair supervisor, it just is, it's surreal and fun. And that is due to this competition. I started like all of you, and it just has evolved. It's very interesting. Experience has turned out, and I'm confident that just seeing from these entries, oh my gosh, you guys are so talented. You guys, I mean, I don't want to just keep complimenting you, right? There's just so much good work being done, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I did not have this well-rounded idea of concepts as a high schooler then. Like, it's just, I can see how much progress has been made, but it's the same idea of creating and designing and following the prompts. In the last session, we had talked about how choosing an artist that has depicted or done something for Don Quixote, and having that be your basis of your concept, and how helpful it is and how effective it shows. How you guys are able to, someone has created something and you're finding inspiration from that, and you're still able to expand on that idea. That's huge. That's, you're not doing the same thing as that artist. You're creating something more. That's really important. That's something that
Sorry, Krystal, you're gonna have to, I'm talking so you can talk again. Go.
than this competition, that you're able to create things and just go at it. You know, of course you have the guidelines of what this competition is, but you're still able to make something, able to be proud of the work that you're producing. I know I'm proud for you, but um I talk about I talk about UIL all the time because it just is so, like, it's so unique. And um it just so happened, of course, that like my the school that I went to, my alma mater, got a bunch of students from Texas. So we all went through the state process. And I remember my senior year, someone came up to me and asked, like, oh, are you going to Webster? Because I am too. And I was like, oh my God, like, classmates, hello. But yeah, going back into just what I've done so far from the from UIL. So graduated in 2015. I went to Webster Conservatory for wig and makeup design major. I'm sure most of you have already researched and know what it is. So it's Webster and UNCSA. So UNCSA is in North Carolina, Webster's in St. Louis. It worked out just that the dean of the school was persistent and wanted me to go there and made it happen. It was just a great experience. That whole interview process was so much fun. And what was great, of course, about having done this competition is just that you basically have your portfolio ready with just how you present at state. You basically think of it as like a mini version in your portfolios, like that's what it looks like. And yeah, so then from Webster, it was my junior year. I was offered a job in New York, but it was supposed to be for a semester. But as it turns out, of course, it was not just for a semester. I stayed here. And that was definitely interesting. So what the position was to be a wig maker at Tom Watson Studio.
Okay, we lost you just for a second. Keep going. Try again. You're good. Oh, not yet.
Perfect. Okay. If you don't know who Tom Watson is, Tom is the wig designer for Wicked, Fiddler on the Roof, King and I mean, iconic shows. And more like specific, he was working as the wig master for the Met Opera for quite a few years. And he was having a new show coming on, King Kong, on Broadway. And I was offered to make wigs at the studio, which is something, you know, if there are any questions about wig making, I'm more than happy to answer them, because that was also something in college that I learned about, that I was, it was a happy accident that I ended up just like loving wig making. And so I was really excited for that position. But of course, as it turns out, so there are two other designers in that same studio, and that's Chuck LaPointe and Cookie Jordan. And so Chuck's credits are Hamilton, SpongeBob was at that time, Beetlejuice, On Your Feet, Jersey Boys, on This Island, Fabulation. She just got done with The Wiz Live, and a couple of film things. And Cookie came up to me on my first day and said, hey, I have a show here in New York and I need a hair supervisor. And the importance was that the show needed a supervisor that was a person of color. and just that to have the understanding of what that is like, the importance of it. And are you up for it? Do you want to do it? And I said, yeah, let's do it. So I started with Cookie. And so Cookie took me from Tom. Eventually I got to working with Tom again. But through that, so that show was Fabulation. Then we did Tony Stone, all black minor league baseball team. Tony was the first woman to be involved with it, and changing baseball history, which actually there's a makeup example I have later on about that show. But
Uh-oh, lost you just for a second. I'm talking, try and come back. Uh-oh, we're losing you.
Dawn was a lot of fun. And obviously Disney shows are unlike any other, definitely. Then after that I did Hercules at the Public Theater. So that was the world premiere of the musical with Alan Menken. An experience I'll never forget, because they involved, and it was such a great time, and Hercules was so much fun. After that, there was a lot of great hair and makeup designs included in that one. And then after that, it was Slave Play. And then I shifted to do more of a commercial shift, and that was Phantom. So then doing Phantom was and is the most fun I've had, in that incorporating everything that I had learned working in New York so far. It's a massive show. It's a massive show, and it's a lot to keep up with. But you get why it's been running for over 30 years. So yeah, I learned a lot through that. And to do this competition virtually, it's been an interesting year. I've been lucky enough to do a couple of things during this, and the way that we've adapted for doing hair and makeup is like I would have never thought, right, that we would be having to go through this all together, and just how hair and makeup gets affected by it. It's been really affected by it. And just how now when we're coming back, it's going to be different. Like a lot of, sanitary rules and guidelines are going to be followed, but so important that we do not lose that faith and that creativity to that. I obviously that's been shown and that's been proven just with the entries that I've seen. Division 2, wow. You guys had your
Lost you again, sorry, just talking. Did it come back? Krystal, did it come back?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Showing my best friend, because he of course saw pictures of like what I had done in theatrical design competition, and he always said like, oh God, I wish I had that in Michigan. And I definitely have heard that a lot from other colleagues that obviously aren't from Texas, that are like, oh my gosh, like I didn't have that and I wish I did. Can you imagine like what that would have been like? And I'm like, yeah, no, I definitely an advantage to a lot of other people. It just is the advantage of learning how to conceptualize and execute designs, you guys are able to like get something from that artistic freedom that you have. And that's that it is, you have that in this competition. There are guidelines, yes, but you design, you create something, and you're able to just go off with those ideas and make things that it's just you create worlds that I want to see, essentially. That is my overall consensus from these entries. It's you guys have made productions that are realistic, that I could see being produced, and of course I have, you know, tips and tricks to give, but you guys should be really proud of yourselves for the amount of work that you've done through this weird year. I'm sure you guys are like ready to be able to do state in person again, and I hope that I can see you guys. I'm excited for what you guys will do next year, because like if this is what we got this year, I can only imagine what next year will bring for you guys. So yeah, going off on the guidelines that I had given myself for judging would be, and just what I've seen overall is questions that I asked myself is for analysis, research, and interpretation, do the design.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. You might have to start that part again because we lost you. Can you say that part again, your guidelines?
Guidelines that I asked myself are for analysis, research, and interpretation. Do the designs convey an understanding of the time, place, style, and action of the script, as well as the needs of the individual characters as they live in the work of the play and interact with each other? Exhibit A, the transformation. And then the next one is the research appropriate to the play and production and the people of the world, the audiences that are viewing it? Is the research and design effective in accommodating and supporting the requirements, style, and overall conception of the play and the characters? I also thought about materials. So are the renderings executed, and do they live in the same world as the concept? Is the research clearly presented in your inspiration boards? Is the analysis of the script clear and thorough? Does the designer explain the design decisions and justify choices in terms of the script, the approach, and the research as well? As any physical demands of the performer, also the quick change. So then, yeah, going with that guideline, you guys have again things that I would like to discuss, and for you all to be able to go off and make some of these either tips your own, or you know, just hopefully maybe this helps you, is the principles of design. It's a way to describe, right, to the ways that we as artists use elements of art within these productions. So one of the biggest things is balance, balancing the distribution of the, I would call it a visual weight. So it's the weight of how we're seeing the renderings displayed, and
Uh-oh, I'm talking so it'll work. Uh-oh, talk again. Krystal, we can't hear
Of
you. Sorry. Oh, you're back. Now you're back.
um, that the renderings are in proportion to what is on the plate. I mean, wow, these renderings are really great. Everyone's style is so unique and strong. But what I would encourage is that make sure that your profiles, whether you have side profiles included in those renderings, that the proportions are large enough with what else is on the plate. So if there's empty space, I'm not saying like clutter it with stuff bit bigger, because it's like, you know, if it's smaller, you're not going to get all the details, and I love to see details. As hair and makeup people, we are detail oriented, so that's really important. I want to stress that. But then yeah, balancing, symmetrical balance. So in going with elements that are used on one side of the design and that are similar, in contrast to the asymmetrical balance, right? We're looking at two different styles combined. Just making sure that they all live in the same world. So whether that is a digital rendering mixed with physical, a 3D element, that it doesn't fall flat, because that's something that I mean, it's obviously we're adapting to this virtual year, so I totally understand that, but because I can already imagine what it looks like in person. That's the thing. Having done these inspiration boards, I know how they go, and so you don't want to miss that element. You don't want to forget it either. So yeah, just getting that, making sure nothing falls flat to your overall design. Movement. For drawing hair, I think a lot about movement. So for a viewer, it's a focal point. We're using shapes and color.
Lost you for a split second. Keep going. On. Audio. I can't hear you, Krystal.
Okay.
Now you're back.
Okay, great. That when depicting hair, we're trying to depict it in a detailed manner. It doesn't have to be like I'm seeing every single strand of hair, but just that we don't lose movement of it. That's super important for the style, the hairstyles, and the design that we're trying to show. Because if we're doing something that's, you know, our hair is down, the model's hair is down, okay, it's down, is it just straight, or are we adding texture to that? What does that texture look like? And is analyzing the separate pieces of the hairstyle. So we're separating them by like specific shapes, and then shading the darkest area of the rendering where the least amount of light reaches the hair. It makes a big difference to shade and give definition, to smooth out the transitions between values and line weight. So like our line weight, how much pressure we're putting onto the paper or onto our digital renderings. So there's our lights, our midtones, and our darks. We're trying to soften out the individual lines. using like paper blending or hack cotton swabs. Focus on that would be on the overall shape of the strand, not on the individual hairs. You're heightening that depth around the face, around the contours of the face with the hair. And I know that sounds like it's like focused on hair that's down, but I think of updos and how some are like full of hair and like there's no movement. I'm specifically thinking like Cinderella stepsisters, or yeah, that's a great example. How like the designs of that are very
Lost you again, sorry. Keep going, Krystal. Can't hear you. Can't hear you, so keep talking. Stepsisters, the stepsisters, yeah.
Yeah, in contrast, like Cinderella has, usually will have down hair, but then when she transforms into her ball look, she has, an updo that is soft and pretty and has movement in it. That conveys a character's characteristic. It conveys a personality, and that's you don't want to lose that in your renderings because it can show. Another thing would be for prosthetics, dry brushing is a great technique that I can see is being done. The darker the shadows in our colors within these prosthetics or within these pieces, like using scar wax and stuff. Something that we can do to get a more realistic finish of it on this prosthetic makeup would be to apply the solid colors with a basic brush, and covering a larger area using a sponge. And when we're going for coverage, right, we can use any sponge, doesn't need to be a specific one, but dry brushing is important because it'll add depth into the prosthetic. So in connection with that, the show Tony Stone, the makeup designer Jared Janis, I was going to be applying the makeup every day during intermission, and that makeup piece needed to look like it was on the actor's back, and it had to look like someone kicked her with a cleat. And it was a larger piece, but it was only done with alcohol makeup, so not a prosthetic, but it was that technique of dry brushing that was really effective, because those values of the reds and the bruising, but then we also add.
Lost you just for a second. Are you still there? Can you hear? Oh.
Okay, there we go. So it's highlighting the edges of the skin that's like torn, seeing muscles, right? The muscles that need to be shadowed. So lightly drawing the brush or sponge over the raised texture of it, mimicking it, the color, leaving it on just the high points. The skin tone is a subtle thing, but it's so important. We're not using a single color to use as a foundation. We're using several. So adding the thinner washes of our primary colors are going to help with that. And they're going to help with creating a shadow. So like that goes in line with, you know, old age. Be careful with over blending. Make sure to go over it with your, again, with your highlight. It needs to just be minimal. It's just if you blend it too much, it's gonna look like misplaced contour or dirt, and we want to refrain from that, because I know it can look different in person versus on the final photos, and of course I take that to account, but yeah, we just don't want to lose that. Another tip that I have done with that, which also is from Jared Janis, we worked on another film, and the old age makeup, it was being shot in a black and white film. So what he was doing was he would do the makeup and then take a picture of it on his phone, but using the black and white filter. And I don't know why I never thought of that before, but I was like, oh, yeah, why have it, like, that is an easy black and white filter on the phone to just see what it would look like on film. And of course, there's that like HD element. So more than likely, it was just doing a little less blending of the darker tone to just get that like amplified, like saggy look. So yeah, that's a tip for old age. We talked about dry.
I think last time you mentioned also the eye sockets, like you talked about doing hitting the eye sockets. Can you, I couldn't hear you, so I just figured I'd throw that question in there when I was talking to make it work.
Oh, you're good. I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just asking about, I think last time in the other group you talked about when they were doing the age makeup too, they did the eye sockets, and you said that that was a really game changer for you.
Oh yeah. That was given to me in college, and I don't know why it just struck. I think it was because I was doing it on myself and I was trying to try different techniques, and the eye socket, so going with a cool toned shadow in the inner socket just really helped, because when you're aging, you know, eye sockets will droop a little, and getting that, and it's just really effective to show an even more it's just a different way to show and depict the basic old age. A little thing that's just like really helpful. What I wanted to talk about for Man of La Mancha, and it's something I talked about in the last one, was just how I interpreted all your concepts, and going into of Man of La Mancha is you all have gravitated toward the themes, and that is really great. I think everyone has been able to be influenced by these themes, and it helps that these themes are timeless, because they're, you know, to hold faith in something that you believe in so strongly, something that is personal to you. The metaphors in this, it shows in your work. Um, what I found is, because I knew the show traditionally and how it's done, the 2002 revival, and when looking at interviews with Dale Wasserman, he had said that he wrote Man of La Mancha because he believed in it and that it was his most personal play. For each of you, that it was something that you believed in, obviously, because you did the work, but something that you guys should hold on to is that, you know, your works should be personal and that you are proud of it.
Lost you a second, sorry. Not yet. Not yet, keep talking.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So then, what was I saying?
You were talking, it was something that you said about making things really personal for you. And I think you mentioned in the other session, and it was really powerful for me. It's like that you don't always love the play that you're working on. You know, it's like, it's not always your thing. It's not always the one that you really wanted to do, but that you have to find something in it and that for the show sometimes.
Yeah. What Rachel said. That's what, yeah.
I was quoting Krystal, so don't even, that's quoting Krystal.
So yeah, in college, it was one of the costume design teachers had given this great tip on you have 4 shows that you forget, and then you have 4 that remind you of why you do what you do. And it's just, I can't stress that enough. And I think I had an idea of that because, so my first year I didn't place and I was sad, but I knew that I needed to do it again because I enjoyed it and I thought it was really fun and I just wanted to continue with that. And of course, my directors were very supportive of me doing it again, and I'm very grateful. That's the thing. That's the most important thing that you should take out of this is that placing isn't everything. I didn't place that first year and was like, okay, I'm going to use that as motivation. And even if I don't place first, I just want to be proud of the work that I did. And I remember that so vividly from this competition is that I just was so excited about my work, and the overall experience was more important than placing. And so just remember that it's going to continue throughout your career. Doing hair and makeup and designing is that not every show is going to be your favorite. um you just have to find something in it that intrigues you and that gets you excited to create something, right? These skills that you already have it in you. um so just
Uh-oh. Lost you for a second. Are you still, can you hear me? Lost you, still can't hear you.
okay,
There we go.
now it's going. Okay, great. And I think lastly, just you guys were able to paint a story, right? It's a visual show, and in transforming the way that actors look like for their characters, um don't lose sight of that, especially with this show, the concepts like that. It's a conceptual show, and that, right, the metaphors and the themes are more important than the story, but you're able to depict that in designs, and you don't want to take away from that, essentially, right? So these worlds that you've created, I want to see more of it, and obviously that intrigue is there, but you want to continue on that. And yeah, don't lose sight of that, definitely. Yeah, this contest is going to continue to develop your journey as a artist, into becoming a professional, if that's what you choose to do. But yeah, if anyone has questions.
I know one thing that we talked a little bit about in the other session that I think was helpful, some people had mentioned. A lot of times we struggle in this group. We talked a little bit about whether you like to draw first or whether you makeup skills than they do with their drawing skills.
Any suggestions for folks that work that way? Also, I think we spoke about some of the different media that seem to work really well for renderings for you, because that sometimes is something we struggle with, is what's going to help us to show the makeups the best as far as media to work with.
Yeah. So I started off doing digital rendering, and then when I went to college, they broke down our drawing skills, or started it, because we had a lot of drawing classes, and it went from the very first class was all about accurately proportioning and getting the line weights that we talked about, the lights, the midtones, the heavy, just to be accurate. And then we went to abstract, conceptual, and then we went to figure drawing, right? The accurately doing proportions.
Lost it. Can't quite hear you yet. Is it working yet? I don't know if, let's see if we can hear you.
Oh, what is going on? Oh wait, can you hear me?
Now I can.
I started off with doing the makeup first, and then drawing, but when reading the script, I always have notes of the characters that I found that I wanted to choose, like the female, the male, and then words, obviously characteristics that are describing the character are helpful, and you'll initial thoughts that you're thinking of for the character and for the story. You obviously have things like the transformation to guide you, but so I will just think of like, okay, I'm incorporating this color with this character, which you guys have talked about in your justification papers a lot, and that's super helpful. But yeah, I started off digital rendering and then drawing, and now my general rendering style is like incorporating both. Like my black and white sketches will be like chicken scratch, just like drawing and overall shapes. And then with watercolors, I will go over tones and stuff I want to depict, but then I will scan it, transfer it to my iPad where I will digital render. So Procreate, it's great. What I really liked was how I still had the same idea of shape, right, from my black and white sketch, but I have more variety in brush options on Procreate. And one of the things I had mentioned in the last session was that with depicting hair, it's something that can be forgotten, but the colors and the way it's depicted needs to be rich. So that depth, that definition I talked about earlier, very
Mhm.
important. I used and I use gouache to get that right where I need it to be. Because even when I like print out my renderings, sometimes I go over it with the gouache or something to make it as rich as possible. So I found my happy medium with doing both, but I say if you're digital rendering, try digital rendering. Just continue to
I love that you suggest like the idea, like one of the things I think is beautiful about our contest is we don't limit your media. We don't say pick one and stick to it. It's like we want it to be open to what works for you. And having heard professional designers coming and talking to you guys like through these sessions, I'm realizing that that's what designers are doing, is combining, and they're using some of both, building some things in, and it's really exciting. Krystal, we have a question from the audience. By the way, guys,
Yeah.
at this point, we can go ahead and we can open it up for your questions, so you'll be able to unmute, but we have one, a question about using full body makeup with an airbrush. They had trouble keeping the makeup from cracking. If you had any kind of something to prevent that. And then somebody
Yeah.
else said they used Halloween spider webs and white trash bags to add volume in my wigs. What's the most bizarre item or object you used in your wigs? So those are two questions that are thrown at you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I have actually recently just figured out the best product for it. And this is because of my own personal like skincare journey.
Okay.
So when I'm like really dry, I have found it's called La Roche-Posay. I literally have it right here, so I'm just gonna show it like a full YouTube video. So it's La Roche-Posay Cicablast Balm B5. It's like a repairing balm, but it's a really rich moisturizer. I find that using this and what's it called? I think it's called Go Oil. It's by Jao, Jao brand. The designer I work with, Cookie, she uses the Go Oil, the Go Oil, a lot in her shows. Because she emphasizes, right, the like more healthy and supple. And personally for me, I find that, and this goes under my makeup every day, so I definitely know it helps with cracking. It's what I've been using for when I have dry patches. So try Cicablast. You can find it at Walgreens. I'm pretty sure it's like at Walmart too. So try using that. Another thing would be barrier spray. Using a lighter amount, I know that doing that is going to help set, but like sometimes final seal can be just a bit too drying. So I found that the Mayron barrier spray, you're able to like build on it, which is really helpful and probably is going to be more helpful than the final seal. So yeah, try that. I know cracking can be yeah.
Oh, we lost you. Go back, go back. Weirdest thing. Oh, we're not getting to hear this and I want to hear this. Krystal, we can't hear you. Couldn't hear you for that. We're missing the most bizarre thing you ever used. So you got to go back. Can you hear me? We missed the most bizarre thing. Whatever you said was the most bizarre thing you put in a wig.
Okay, I can hear you now.
We could tell you were telling us, and I was striving to read lips, but I couldn't. So you have to tell us again because we're dying to know.
So in Hercules, we had the gods in like different colored wigs to match their costumes. And we had one of them have like spiders and looked so real, like they were like able to move, the like tail was like move, it was bizarre. But I took one of the rats from it, and we were designing Shrek the Musical at another theater, and I was like, you know what, I think this is going to be my good luck charm. We need to include that rat into the witch's hat, into the witch's wig. And so that might be the weirdest thing. And I'm serious, it still lives in that same wig upstairs in our studio. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever let it go. I was even, because we're, discussing our upcoming season, and we have a Little Mermaid coming up, and I had asked in the production meeting, like, can we include the rat again, please? It just needs to happen. It worked. I can't think of anything weird. I think that's probably it. I think I need to incorporate more weird things into my wigs. That
It could
sounds
be
like
your signature. It's your signature trademark. What will you find in
yeah.
a wig? We have time for one more question. If you guys want to unmute, if anybody wants to ask a question, if you'd like to.
Any questions?
Anyone? Anyone? Oh, there's somebody that's trying. You can,
I have a
Maddie.
question.
Hi,
Sorry.
yeah.
No, you're good.
So for my Don Quixote makeup, I used cotton balls and I turned them into a beard to make my mom look like Don Quixote. And I was wondering if there would be anything else like around the house that would have been better or that you can use to make into a beard besides just like straight up makeup, because I wanted like texture. And I was curious if you knew anything else that was of the sort.
When you can't get to the store to buy crepe hair and everything to make it out of stuff, it's like, what are some other kinds of materials that sometimes get used for hair? Because like, yeah, this year was a scavenger hunt of what can you find around your house to use, right?
Right.
Oh, she's frozen. Can you hear? Did you hear that, Krystal? Did you hear her question? I can't hear you answering it.
Okay, I think I'm back.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
back.
thank God. My first initial thought is a mop, like cutting the end of a mop and not just using like those strands, but like distressing it. Gosh, another thing.
That's pretty cool. Right?
Yeah, mops are great because of the way that they're like twisted, you're able to get that texture out of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is around my room that I would use? Yeah, mop and
It's a whole new TV show. It's called Project Runway, with whatever you can find in your house is all you can use.
you guys, wait, that should be that should be a quick challenge at state. Yeah, no,
Fun.
I think a mop would be the best bet. I'm like, there has to be like a
I was thinking like steel wool possibly or something, you know, like if you have like those
yeah,
little steel wool pads or something might be able to, but it might be really irritant. I don't know.
yeah. No, but that yeah, beauty is pain.
Well,
Yeah, no, I would use that or honestly like some like the tissue paper, but that's like right now I'm seeing a lot of textured cutting it like specifically into the shape of a mustache and a beard because it's just like a heavier weight paper.
yeah. Well, listen, folks, we're about at the end of our hour here, and I just want to again congratulate all of you guys for being here. You all, to me, are our super troopers this year because honestly, I wanted this to be makeup's special year. I love this whole idea of they're going to get to choreograph a makeup change on stage to a monologue. You know, it's like this is powerful stuff. I had visions of you guys having all these opportunities to like really strut your stuff, and then COVID hit, and you're not even allowed to be in the same room with another person to put makeup on. And it just got to be just, you all to me had to overcome more hurdles than almost anybody else in this contest. And so you are my heroes this year. And I'm so glad that Krystal was here to help inspire you through like the big rough year for you all. And I am just so looking forward to what you all will create next year. And again, just congratulations. We will see you on Monday night at 6 o'clock for the awards. And I hope you guys will all join in, have a big watch party, make it something special because it is. It's not long, but it's special. And then, so get together and celebrate. And also we will be announcing next year's contest. So you'll be able to get going on that. Because I know we've got some people that are already like waiting to order that script on Amazon the second that that's announced to get started for next year. So we will see you guys on Monday night. And thanks again, Krystal, for all of your wonderful words of inspiration and advice. See you guys. Love you.
Bye.